Welcome to lecture 8. In this lecture we will discuss another very important feature of the urban governance, that is the land as a basic resource. In last two lectures we discussed the people and the community group, which is very important to understand for urban local governance. Now land is very important because at the end of the day the municipality is a concept which is working on a geographical area. So, unless a comprehensive understanding of the land and its use is not there, no functionaries or no technical person, no elected representative can work in the urban area with effectiveness. So, let us see some basic concept on the land. So, in this lecture we will discuss land as the basic resources, land cover and land use, what is the difference between that, and what are the essential land laws, and how we can bring some control and enforcement for all those kind of land using the essential laws. So, land as a basic resources, we know that land is limited and most important limited resource. Land cannot be created. We can create infrastructure, we can create many other things, but not land. In some extreme cases land can be created, like say we reclaim the some amount of land from the river beds or from the seashore, but otherwise in the large scale land cannot be created, but land can be developed. A barren land or unused land can be improved and developed and can be used for urban purpose. Second, whatever we need for our living, that is water, air and vegetation, all other resources are all attached with the land. So, it is very significant to understand that land is not only land, it includes the water, air and all the resources, that is the land cover. It provides the living space with the primary products, whatever we get like food, fruits, vegetables, everything we get from the resources which is attached in the land and land cover. Second, the frequent wars were fought for the land in history. We know that for the right of the land there were fights and wars and battles in history, not only in India, in international areas also. Now also whenever we see within our country, that we will see that for taking the right of a small amount of land there is so much fight and differences. So, taking control of your own territory and own land and understanding the land and plan for that land is very much essential for this urban local governance. Land is also a key factor in the production, and right of land determines the status. In rural areas and also in urban areas, whoever owns the land, they definitely enjoy a higher status in the society. So, this is a very important phenomenon in terms of the urban governance. Land is viewed as input for the scheme of values, and conversion of land is inevitable due to population increase. We know that urbanization is a continuing process from rural to urban. So, conversion of the land is inevitable. The question is how efficiently and how scientifically we can allow the land conversion so that the agricultural lands are not disturbed much, or the total production in terms of the crop are not hampered, and required urbanization is also there in our cities. Outward sprawl in urban centers makes land scarcely commodity in fringes. We have seen that when a city takes a form like that and in grows in several direction, so there are sprawls around the cities and there are pockets of undevelopment. So, when there are pockets of undevelopment developed at the various corners, those pockets of lands become useless and wasted after some time. That is why if we can make a plan and a orderly growth of the city, it is possible to make maximum use of the land in urban areas. So, for this let us understand the meaning of land cover and land use. Land cover is basically the natural land cover which is attached to land. It can be a water body, it can be a river, it can be a vegetation, it can be a orchard, or it can be a simple various types of soils. On the other hand, land use is the use which we assign in the land and which we do in the land. For example, we can make a road, we can make a airport, we can make a building. So, whatever we do on the land to make the land usable, that means the land use is a man made concept and land cover is a natural concept. So, that is what we made the point, the land cover is a natural concept and land use is a man made concept in general. And when we, for our convenience of the study or convenience of the analysis of any urban areas, we segregate or we represent the urban land use in various categories and various color codes. So, categories are like residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, public, semi-public and road transportation, and we represent these in various colors for our convenience. Let us see the categories. So, you can see that residential is shown in yellow, industrial is shown in purple, cultural institutional education is shown in red, commercial is shown in blue, transportation is shown in grey, recreational open space and water body is shown in dark green, urban agriculture is shown in light green, there could be services and utilities which is shown in dark red color. So, these color codes are mandated in URDPFI, which is a very important document which gives a planning guidelines. In fully we write it like urban and regional development plan formulation and implementations. So, this is a document published by Government of India which provides the codes of the land use and its category. Now, please take a note that these land uses are the gross land use, that means this land use is represented at the area level. So, when you represent this land use, we do not show the micro level details of the land use. I will show an example so that you can understand. You can see this map, this is the land use map of the city Delhi. It is published by Delhi Development Authority, it is taken from their own website, and you can see that the plan is shown with various color codes as yellow, red, purple industry, the green areas, the monuments, the transportation as grey, and public, semi-public and the institution. They have taken red color to demarcate the commercial, little different from the URDPFI, but as long as it is written in the legend, it is acceptable and it can be studied accordingly. Now, please take any representative color just for understanding. Say this is one particular sector which is giving a yellow color, that means it is a residential sector. For example, take this sector, it is purple, so it is industrial. The point I made here that every sectors the land use is shown at the gross level, that means at the area level, because if you show this sector, if you see this sector in details, you will find that in this sector apart from the residential there are small roads, small shops, kindergarten school, etc., and also some green areas, small green areas. So, this all the small utilities and the green areas or the shops which is required to serve this residential area are not shown in different color code. So, please take a note that in any land use map we show the map in terms of the gross land use. So, if you have seen any land use map of any urban areas, or you are working in a municipalities or urban development authority, if you have not seen the land use map of your city, please take a copy of that and please study whether you can identify the land uses, the color codes, the difference of the color codes or not. There are examples that in the land use map on the master plan, other than the land use prescription, the density prescription could be there, like what is the prescribed density for each and every sector. Okay. So, I am not going through those details right now, because there is a complete module on urban and regional planning that I will discuss that time. So, I hope you have got the point that how the land use map is represented. Apart from the gross land use, you can see that there are road network, major road network, the river banks is also shown separately, so that it gives a complete idea of the future development of your city. So, similarly, if you have not done for your city, please take initiative to make the land use map. So, land use map is basically done after the current existing map is prepared. So, we will come to this point later on. So, let us see that how to have a control and enforcement on the development of the land even by the private developer. Now, suppose this is a land use map you have done, but for each and every sector you want to develop according to some rules, some guidelines, some orderly growth, but how to do? So, what we do with the land use map, we publish the land use and development control plan, in short we call it as a LUDCP. In some cases it is called simply land use plan. So, once the land use plan is published and approved, it becomes a legal document. So, this document gives the legal sanctity of the land use map, and according to that land use map all the development will be done in terms of the land use. But what about the building? Suppose in a residential sector you have taken you are going to develop that building, and as per the master land use plan or the land use plan it is shown as residential, but how much building or how much floors or what is the height of the building, you need some guidelines, some regulations to control that also, to enforce that. So, we call it as a development control regulations, in short it is DCR. So, DCR and LUDCP or master plan together, they make the control mechanism of the land. So, land use map controls the land use and DCR controls the building, and together land use and building together they control the built environment of any city. I hope that all of you have seen some pictures from a nice city from the Europe or any other cities, and when you see those pictures or you visit personally, you find that the cities are orderly grown and looking good, nice, clean and green. But how all those cities are grown so beautifully? The reason for those beautiful cities are that they have a stronger enforcement and control mechanism in place, so that they can control the land use, they can control the building and the as a whole the built environment. So, for land we need this control and enforcement for a orderly growth of the built environment. Apart from that, we need various other land related laws to have a control over the land, because land use and building control will give you some control and enforcement for development of that land. But what about the procurement? Can you assemble land? If you do not have the land at all in municipality within your ownership, how you are going to develop the land, who are going to give you the land, to whom you are going to ask for the land. Those are the questions, very important question for the urban governance. For that you need to assemble land using some land laws. So, let us see that what are the various kinds of land laws are applicable in urban areas. The first land laws are laws related to land acquisition, or in general we call it assembly and acquisition. The second set of law which governs the land is the land registration. So, objective of the land assembly and the acquisition is to get or is to have land within your territory, and land registration is objective of land registration is formalize the ownership, and then you have land use and development control. So, these two basically ensures the development. Now, in India, for the land assembly and acquisition, there was a act called Land Acquisition Act 1894, but this act was a British act. This act, using this act, there were lot of examples of assembling land in public for the public projects, but because of the process which is underlying in this act, the process is so time consuming and lengthy. Most of the projects take lot of time. Not only that, apart from the time constraint, this land ensures very less amount of the social interest, and most of the cases the people go to the court for higher compensation, and the public interest for which the land is taken, the public interest is challenged in the court, and so many litigations are there. For that reason, recently in 2013, Government of India has brought another new act called Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act. I repeat the name, Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act. So, this act is a new act which allows government to take land for the public purpose only with public consent. So, as per this act, 80% of the landowners, if 80% landowners give the consent for the particular development or the project, that project will be done for the, if their project is a private project. If it is a government project, 70% consent of the 70% owners is mandatory to get the approval of this project. So, this act ensures lot of social interest in comparison to the 1894 Land Acquisition Act. So, this set of laws ensures land acquisition, land registration and land use and development control for the municipality. But one very important point to be noted, that land registration is done by a state department usually. Every state has a land registration department, whereas land assembly, land acquisition can be done by the ULB, land use and development control, this is can be done by ULB or the local authority. That means the land registration is done at the state level, and because land is a state subject, state subject, and land assembly acquisition can be done by the urban local bodies, development control can be done by the urban local bodies. So, this is one very important thing to remember. So, I have shown some so with this few laws, like I have talked about right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition in Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act. Using this land, recently lot of projects have been done, and for the LU DCP and DCR or the major cities in India, they have their own LUDCP and DCR. You can check with your own cities that what kind of land use prescription, what type of development control regulations they have to control the land and the development over that, and also land registration. Using land registration, you can check your state level land registration act and its provisions, and the departmental website. You will come to know that how the department works and what are the provisions and what are the important process in this whole land business. So, to summarize today's discussion, we discussed land as a basic resource of the urban governance, because any urban government works on a geographical area. Municipality is a term which is a geographical area delineated by the board of councillor, and land is such a resource that it cannot be created, it is limited, and all the natural resources like water, vegetation, everything is attached to land. So, it cannot be whatever we do, the man-made activities like say buildings or infrastructure, we do it on the land. So, land is very much limited and significant in terms of urban development. Then we discuss the land cover and the land use. Land cover is a natural concept which is the phenomenon or the features which is there naturally on the top surface of the land, that is called land cover. For example, the orchard, the water body, the green field, the barren land, etc. And the activities which we do over the land, that is called land use, that is commercial use, residential use, industrial use, or any other kind of use. The land use is always man-made. And then we discuss that land use is always presented through a set of color codes. These color codes are mandated by the URDPFI, Urban and Regional Development Plan Formulation and Implementation Guidelines. It is a Government of India guidelines. So, I have shown some example of the Delhi Master Plan, how they showed the color codes. You can check your own city master plan and the color codes, and then we discuss the what are the land laws. So, one set of land laws are there, that is Land Acquisition Act. We have mentioned the new Land Acquisition Act which ensures greater public interest and the social interest, and then we discuss the Land Registration Act. The objective of the Land Registration Act to transfer the ownership or to formalize the ownership, and then we have the Master Land Use Plan and the Development Control Regulation. Objective of these two is to regulate and enforce the land use and the development over the land for the land use, that is the built environment of a city. So, as a whole, this land acquisition, land registration, LUDCP and the DCR, they control the land and the development over that. So, if you want a very sustainable and beautiful and a very clean and green city, have the land development and land enforcement religiously. If you have not forgotten the 18 jobs given in the 12th schedule under the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, the second point was mentioned as the land use regulation. So, land use regulation is a very significant part of the urban governance, because it regulates and guides the physical development of the city. So, having said that, I am concluding this discussion. Next day we will discuss another very important foundation of the urban governance, that is the environment and ecology, without which you cannot have a sustainable development. So, thank you very much for attending this lecture.